everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight at Hackforge for this talk on AI for administrators. My name is Lauren Hedges. I'm the managing director here at Windsor Hackforge. I also work as a project manager, consultant, and whatever else I need to be depending on the day at Parallel 42 Systems. So I work pretty deeply in tech. I've been watching AI kind of grow since before ChatGPT, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because you guys have also all been watching it grow since before ChatGPT. You just might not really have been thinking about it in quite the same way. So as we go through today, if anybody has any questions, whether you are joining us online or here in person, feel free to just ask. You don't have to put up your hand, whatever. The only thing we're going to not do is interrupt. You can interrupt me, that's fine, but don't interrupt somebody else. I talk a lot, so don't wait for me to take a breath because I never will. Yeah, and then folks joining online, feel free to type into the chat or unmute yourself and ask your question or however. And then we'll just kind of take it from there. There's no like official question period, so don't worry about waiting for anything like that. For everyone in here, bathrooms at the end of the hallway if you need it. If you need anything else, just let us know. Bolt is also one of our Hackforge staff members and can give you a hand. So, AI for administrators. There's a few things we're going to be going through in today's event. We're going to be doing some introductions. We're going to talk about the basics of artificial intelligence, some models, some best practices, and some use cases. Now, if something comes up that I don't explain in depth enough and you have a question on it, that's cool. If you have a question about something specific you've encountered before, that's also cool. Nothing is off limits. Go ahead and ask. And if it's something that is like a little bit too off topic, I might just put it off until the end of the session, but I will come back to you on that one. Sound okay for everybody? Mm-hmm. Beauty. So step one, we're going to do our introductions. And because this is an event on AI, we are going to use AI to do it. So if you have a computer available, if you don't, that's okay. You can just introduce yourself as normal. But if you have a computer available, pull up your AI of choice. It could be your ChatGPT, your Gemini, or your Copilot, or something different. I'm going to be focusing on these three since they're kind of the biggest ones. So what you're going to do is ignore that. Go. Yeah. Open up a new chat, and you're going to ask it to provide a short bio for your name from Windsor, Ontario, if you identify as being from Windsor, Ontario.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's about what we're expecting.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
But I was just putting ChatGPT in as you were talking, so I missed what you said.
That's totally fine. So what we're going to do is once we have ChatGPT or whatever it is that we're using open, you're just going to ask it to provide a short bio for your name and where you're from.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Should we do our business name? Because I'm a business owner.
Sure, yeah.
Or just my own name.
Whichever you prefer.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever it is that you want us to know about. And whichever one you think is going to give the funniest response.
I'm going to see what it brings up if I just put my name on it.
Yeah, I love it. And honestly, if you want to try it without saying you're from Windsor, or if you want to try maybe a different version of your name, that's cool too. Play around with it. Sometimes you'll get funny results. For example, if I don't specify from Windsor, Ontario, then I come up as a media creator from England, which is quite funny because it's not too far off, right? And I've had instances where this particular person like has had a call out for auditions, and people email me asking to audition for my short film.
Never taken anyone up on it? Yeah, they should. Put together short film.
I like it.
Yeah. Has everybody been able to get some sort of response?
She's still trying to get in. So
Okay, no problem, no problem.
But mine says they couldn't find online information, so I'm a good girl.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, I like that. And folks joining us online, please feel free to participate in this. We'll be happy to hear your results as well. You can read them out loud or put them in the chat, however you prefer. While we're getting some things finished up, we'll just kind of start making our way around the room. So I'll start with mine just to kind of give everybody a sense of what we're doing here. So this is short enough. If yours is like 8 paragraphs, don't worry about reading the whole thing. We don't want to spend all day on this, as fun as it is. So this one tells me that Lauren Hedges is a dynamic technology entrepreneur and community advocate based in Windsor, Ontario. As the founder and CEO of Bridgepoint Solutions, she specializes in creating custom software and digital transformation strategies for small and medium-sized businesses in the region. A proud graduate of the University of Windsor, Lauren's passion for innovation is deeply rooted in the city's unique cross-border culture and its industrial heritage. Beyond her professional work, she's a dedicated mentor for emerging talent, volunteering with local initiatives to foster the next generation of innovators. Her commitment to building a robust local tech ecosystem makes her a respected leader and a key contributor to the revitalization of the Windsor-Essex area. So I'm not going to say that's complete bullshit. I have no idea what Bridgepoint Solutions is. I have not founded it, nor am I the CEO. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also don't like really create custom software. I like tell other people what to create.
Wow.
Yeah. So like it's close, but not quite. So that's interesting. This is it's kind of fun to see, I'm fact checking myself right now and Gemini's lying to me. The robot is lying. How dare it? Right? It's terrible. It's terrible. But it's funny. Would you like to go next?
Sure. I'll go with the co-pilot one because it's shorter.
Right.
Alex Millerman is a professional based in Windsor, Ontario, with a background in business and community engagement. Alex is known for his dedication to local initiatives and his commitment to fostering growth in the Windsor area. I don't know about a background in business. I'm a web developer, so close-ish, I suppose. Yeah.
So bad.
Pulled something.
And you said there was another one that was longer.
Yes.
Which did you get that from?
ChatGPT.
Of course.
And I'm pretty sure it just found my LinkedIn and pulled just that information. But there's a part here that says, I wasn't able to find a detailed public biography for Alex Millerman, suggesting that this person may be a private individual whose profile isn't featured prominently online, which I'm not going to take offense to.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. All right. And this is weird that you guys sat next to each other. Alex, do you want to do yours?
So Alex too is a versatile tech professional based in Windsor, Ontario, with a passion for building, optimizing, automating digital systems. As a web developer and systems administrator, he blends front-end creativity and back-end precision to deliver seamless user experiences and robust infrastructure. Whether he's coding sleek interfaces, managing servers, or diving into the latest tech trends, Alex thrives on solving problems and pushing boundaries. A lifelong learner and a hand-on tinkerer, he's always exploring new tools, frameworks, and hardware to stay ahead in the ever-evolving tech landscape.
Interesting. How accurate is that?
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate. Okay. And which AI did you use?
Copilot.
Copilot. Okay.
I tried like ChatGPT and like Gemini. Gemini, I didn't get good responses.
They weren't good as in they were incorrect?
Yeah, it's some other Alex too from York.
Interesting. Okay, so it seems to be consistent that Gemini is not so accurate in this case. So curious. Okay. Awesome. Yours actually sounded pretty good. That was nice. It sounds like it did some editorializing, but in a nice direction. So way to be. All right. Next.
Okay. Arlene Van Dorn, RN, is a respected foot care nurse and educator based in Windsor, Ontario. With both basic and advanced foot care certifications, she leads Arlene's Healthy Heals and More, a specialized clinic offering professional foot care services and continuing ed for healthcare professionals. or providers. Arlene is known for her commitment to advancing foot health knowledge, especially in areas like diabetic foot care, ingrown toenails, and callus management. She regularly hosts workshops and training sessions to empower fellow nurses and practitioners in the field.
How accurate.
100%.
Hey, amazing. All
Not
right.
co-pilot.
That's co-pilot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't try the others,
No,
but I
that's
will
totally
in
fine.
the future.
That's great. Next.
Okay, I used ChatGPT, and it's Kim M. Watson, nurse and holistic practitioner, Windsor, Ontario. Credentials and role, registered nurse holding a doctorate of public health, DPHN, and a master's of science in nursing. Works as a staff nurse in the emergency department at Hotel Dieu Grace Hospital, Windsor. Professional focus, passionate about incorporating complementary therapies into acute care based on her advanced clinical practice work and patients' increased interest in these modalities. A notable contribution, delivered a presentation titled The Introduction and Integration of Complementary Therapies in Acute Care, drawing on her RNAO Advanced Clinical Practice Fellowship. The presentation covered definitions of complementary therapies, literature reviews, practical integration in acute care, and strategies for educating healthcare professionals and patients. And it's almost 100% accurate. It's not a doctor of public health. It's a diploma of public health. And I am retired, but I did the emergency. This is older because then it became Windsor Regional Hospital. So, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
But you all sound like very cool people. I'm excited about this.
Because we know your parents.
I mean, that doesn't hurt, absolutely. But it's very interesting to see that it's not even, in some cases, incorrect, just out of date. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
It's very close. Yeah, they got the correct acronyms for the degrees and that, but not the doctor wasn't. I'm not a doctor of public health.
Fair. And your name was Kim. Still is Kim.
They got
You don't want
that.
to say ChatGPT might have changed it.
Fair. All right, next.
Hi, well, my name's Sandy, guys. So mine's very interesting. This is what ChatGPT said. I couldn't find any publicly available information, such as news articles, profiles, or obituaries, thank God, about a retired registered nurse named Sandy Tuma from Windsor, Ontario. It's possible that Sandy Tuma is a private individual whose career and retirement haven't been documented in publicly indexed sources. If you could share more context, like where she worked, third person, specific hospitals or clinic, community involvement, or any local news or recognition, that might help narrow things down.
So, I mean, that's not bad. Way to be private enough.
Yeah,
I can't
right?
find anything on you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
Sandy.
I'm a
okay.
little disappointed. I wanted to have wonderful stories.
But would it have anything to do with Sandy having an alias under Facebook as Beach?
No.
Ooh,
Some of the information could be
Part of
taken
it,
down there, correct?
definitely could be.
Yeah, we should put in Sandy Beach. That'd be interesting. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're on there all the time.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What was the question? I asked it again.
Oh, provide a short
Oh,
bio.
provide. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So while you
For
look up
Sandy
that,
Tuma,
I
who's
want to hear
on
yours.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say bio for Sandy Tuma that's known. Yeah.
I'll just say the
Facebook.
Beach.
Oh, yeah.
From. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah.
Bolt Tuma is a Windsor, Ontario-based community leader and advocate, recognized for their dedication to fostering inclusion and building stronger local connections. With a passion for grassroots initiatives and collaborative projects, Bolt works tirelessly to create spaces where people feel empowered, supported, and engaged.
I mean, got you, buddy. You don't think so?
Oh, I think so. I just think it's a little bit flattering.
Oh,
They're all flattering. though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. You know what I've noticed? ChatGPT really likes to tell us what we're passionate about.
100%. Remember that. We're going to kind of come back to
Yeah.
that concept in a little while. So keep it in mind. All right. Sandy, were we able to get a different response? Still no, eh?
Mine's very low profile, I guess.
Way to be. That's
They didn't
great.
touch my arrest from last year.
It's not telling us all the times you filed for bankruptcy.
Got cleared, that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So based on that exercise there, what have we already learned about AI?
It's not totally accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Now in this
It
case,
embellishes all of us too. I like the embellishing.
yeah, the embellishment is kind of nice. So it was easy for us to fact check this because we know about ourselves. But just think, if you're asking it about a topic that you already don't know,
Right.
you gonna trust everything it tells you?
No.
Yeah, probably not. So we'll talk a little bit more later on about some different ways that we can combat some of that, but it's something to always keep in mind as we're dealing with AI, or the robot, as I will sometimes call it. So talking about the very basics of AI, first, we would want to talk about, what it is. So I asked ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot all the same thing. Please provide a short entry-level definition of AI. And it's interesting to see the different interpretations of short, right? For sure. We don't have to read through all of these in detail, but really what we're seeing here is that there are some commonalities. AI likes to think of itself as human-esque, and it's really, really pushing that, right? But it focuses on the fact that AI is looking for patterns. It says it's trying to make decisions. Questionable as to whether or not it really does that. So something that we can see from this is that when we're asking AI to define itself, it is truly talking about only itself as a chatbot. We'll talk more later about what exactly that means, but AI is more than just a chatbot. This is not something that started in November of 2023 or whenever it was that ChatGPT was first released. If you have ever played a computer game against the computer as your opponent, you were playing against an AI, even if they weren't calling it back then, right? So this, while it's being used in new ways, is not an entirely new concept. And I'm telling you that to make you feel maybe a little bit less afraid of it, right? You've been interacting with this all the time without even realizing it. Think about any time that Spotify is making you a playlist that it thinks you're going to like. Netflix is recommending a TV show or a movie that it thinks fits your style. It has learned that based on other data you've given it, which is other things you've listened to, other things that you've watched, right? All of these things count as AI. If we wanted to look at maybe a non-digital, well, still digital, but non-self definition here, I also pulled the definition from Britannica.com. And what I like about this definition is that it's not saying AI is trying to be a human, but trying to perform tasks associated with intelligence, or intelligent beings is what it uses here. So while it does mention later on that it is using intellectual processes characteristic of humans, it's still not saying that AI thinks like a person, right? And it also acknowledges that there are no programs that can match full human flexibility. There are some things that the AI just can't do that we can do. And I'm sure we all know that already. It's just figuring out what those things are. In certain cases, as is highlighted here on our bottom paragraph, some programs are able to do the thing so well that you might as well just have the AI do it. And that's great. So that's really, when it comes down to using AI, it's knowing where and when to implement it and how to fact check it. It's not always necessary, but especially when we're talking about chatbots like the Copilot and the whatnot that we were looking at earlier, always necessary. But all of that is really convoluted. There's a lot going on. So just in simple terms, what is AI? What is it doing? This is a computer that is learning patterns based on the data that it is exposed to. Then based on those patterns, it can predict or generate or recognize something. So it can predict a TV show that you might want to watch. It can generate a bio about you as a person, or you are using your face to unlock your iPhone. And so it's recognizing you and opening your phone. So there are different types of AI for each of those different topics or activities that I just mentioned. It's not that ChatGPT itself is able to do all of those things. In some cases, ChatGPT might be connected to a different AI, allowing it to do some of those, but it to surface information that comes from these other ones, but ChatGPT itself isn't necessarily doing it. The main thing, though, is to remember that AI does not think like a human. Even though it tells you, oh, I'm thinking, while it's gathering its data that it wants to show you, it is not thinking. It is finding patterns, right? Relating your question, your request to patterns it has experienced in the past.
Mm.
Everybody following okay with that? All right, excellent. So hallucinations. We might have experienced some of this in our earlier, right? Now, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's hallucinations or it's pulling from the wrong source. But in both cases, we're getting the wrong information. So when looking at whether or not what it's telling us is true, kind of doesn't matter if it's a hallucination or from the wrong source. End result is that it is incorrect. So it's always good to know that AI doesn't know anything. It's just guessing based on what it already knows. Educated guesses, like the weatherman, okay? How often do you listen to the weather on the radio or watch it on the news and they're wrong, but they're like, based on patterns we've seen in the past, this is what the weather is going to be tomorrow. AI is the weatherman, right? It's looking at past patterns and making a prediction of what you want to see, okay? So we cannot trust everything that the robot tells you. I'm sure we know that already. I think everybody in this, Alex, you're the only one that might be too young for this, but when the internet first really started becoming a thing and we were all told, don't trust anything the internet tells you, and then it kind of went fully the other way where everyone believed everything that the internet told them. You probably came in at that point. Yeah, right? Now we're kind of getting back to the question everything you read point. So honestly, maybe I'm just like that, but I don't trust anything that is on the internet, right? Unless I saw the person say those words, who knows?
ChatGPT is the new Wikipedia.
That's a scary idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Can't use Wikipedia as your source. You can't trust that source. And now
Right.
It's a good point,
it's like
but
such
it's
a
true.
facto source.
And it's even having credible sources and being sure that when you're looking at a site, that it's actually coming from the credible source and not from a secondary source that's just merely labeling content from that source.
Yes.
Especially in healthcare. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have ever gotten into looking at the sources on Wikipedia, you might have noticed sometimes that that source isn't actually the source because they were also referencing something else. Your AI is going to be doing the exact same thing if it's not making it up entirely. Sometimes it's not even necessarily making something up, but as we experienced with some of our responses, it's referencing something that is old. So it might be looking at a blog post that exists in its database, but that has since been deleted. So when you try to follow the URL, you don't get anything, right? Was that post made up or was it deleted? You can't always answer, but either way, it's not there. So you can't use that reference, right? Okay. So when we're not trusting the robot, we are going to think back to how we would verify news media or Facebook or whatever and apply the same principles. So we'll cross-check with trusted sources. If we have asked it about, for example, something that we're going to put in a report for work and it gives us a stat isn't something that we want to play around with. This is going to be in a final report for work. So we're going to look that up somewhere else. So in that case, you might be asking yourself, why bother asking the AI at all? When I have to look it up anyhow, I might as well just do that in the first place. And that's totally valid. You can just look it up yourself. But in the case where you're using your AI to maybe brainstorm ideas or kind of lay out the basics of your report, sometimes that information will come into it, and just make sure to always know where that information is coming from. And if it is from ChatGPT, you have to check it, or Copilot or Gemini. ChatGPT equals all AI, is all chatbot AI is basically where we've come with that. It is the Kleenex of AI. We'll also want to use common sense and our own knowledge. Again, that goes back to our exercise where we kind of ChatGPT'd ourselves. If it is telling us that there are elephants that live in Windsor, Ontario, because it says so, we know that's not true. So obviously we're not going to report that. So think about it like that. You can also ask the AI to show its work or to give you more easily accessible links. You can pretty much always find the links that it's referencing when it's giving you information, but you might have to make a couple extra clicks to get that to show. So if instead you tell it, look up the unemployment stats in Windsor, Ontario, and give me 3 links that you used to gather this information as an example, then it'll be more likely to do that. Make sure you click on those links because again, it might be making it up, but that's one way to check, right? Just the existence of a link is not enough. Clicking on it will help us get there. And then comparing multiple tools, like I did with the definition of AI, or we did with some of our bios, try ChatGPT versus Copilot versus whatever else, and see what it says. If it's something that is consistent across all 3 of them, then think about maybe why that's happening. That still doesn't mean it's correct, but it could be something from, a mis or disinformation campaign. It could be a myth, right? There's lots of different reasons that could happen. The main thing though, never publish or send without verifying. It can be so easy to just not want to respond to this email. So I'm just going to tell the AI to write it for me, and then I'm going to send the response. But it turns out that email actually was referencing the wrong person in the conversation. So it gives a completely incorrect response. We don't want any of that. So always check, always read, always verify. And if you are going to use something from ChatGPT that you're pasting into your email, make sure that you do not include here's an email response that makes you sound assertive and professional, and then it gives the response. Don't take that first line. It has happened, and it's always hilarious when you're the recipient of that. Of that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about AI models. I've mentioned this a little bit. It's kind of hard to talk about AI in a linear fashion, right? I'm always kind of going back and forth and mentioning, we'll come back to that later on. So here's a little bit of that. You've probably heard the term model before, and what that's referring to is just the data that the AI was trained on and what it was trained to do. So some examples we have in here, like ChatGPT, it was trained on text. It was fed books, it was fed blogs and research articles and all sorts of written word things. And that's why it can give you text, right? Now, it was also trained a little bit on some things like numbers, which I guess counts as text, but it can do graphing and some of that sort of stuff. So that's a simplification, but that would be an example of our language model. So that is a chatbot. We hear the term LLM, maybe LM for large language model or language model, chatbot. All of those mean the same thing, that it was trained on text and is responding with text. So anytime that you are on a website and you get the little pop-up, usually in the bottom right corner, of, hey, do you have any questions? I'm here to help. And then it prompts you on all questions and whatever. That's going to be some sort of language model, virtual assistant, chatbot kind of deal, right? Then we've got a speech recognition model, something like Zoom AI Companion or Fathom or Otter. I think there's one called Whisper. Don't worry about the beeping. That is the battery backup for the server, and it's mad, but it'll survive. So speech recognition models, they're trained on audio recordings with transcripts. So it's given both the recording of this meeting and the transcript, which was probably, if we're in the days before AI, typed by a human, right? So then it can compare. So it sees this word and hears this word and can then tie those together so that in the future, when it hears what I'm saying right now, it is able to then create the, let me see if I can put this over here if it'll work. No, maybe not. It is then able to create something like these captions, right? Being like, whoa, hey, I'm writing exactly what you're writing. See? What? Yeah. So that is an example. So sometimes will be a complete transcript at the end of the meeting, which is something that will be available after this call, or it can be done in real time, which is super awesome. So that is outputting spoken words as text. We then get into our image generation models, something like Adobe Firefly or DALL-E or Canva has this, where basically you just type in something like, show me a cat on railroad tracks dressed as like a 1920s bum, right? And then you get your cat, it's got the little bag on a stick, right? So you're getting your images out of that one. And then the recommendation model, which we discussed earlier, something like Netflix, trained on your user behavior data, and it outputs suggestions. A couple others that I didn't dive as deep into here are our computer vision model and fraud detection model. An example of computer vision would be facial recognition. So if your work has put in a new time clock where you just have to look at the camera and it goes, ah, it's Sandy, you're at work, you clocked in at 9:01, you're late, whatever. That, right, yeah, that is an example of a computer vision model. A fraud detection model you have likely experienced through your bank or credit card where they're like, oh, you just made a purchase in Missouri 10 minutes after you made a purchase in Windsor. That's suspicious, flag, right? Those ones are like, I don't have as like easily specific examples for those ones, so they didn't get the full little square and visualization and whatnot. But is this making sense? Like, what is a model? Okay. So, doesn't want to do the buttons. Okay. So then let's talk about some of these examples and what they would count as. I've gone through some of these, so they'll probably be fairly easy to answer, but let's talk about them. So if I want to add clothes to a photo of my dog, which AI model would I be using?
The image generation.
Boom. Yeah. Do you know an example of an exact like product that I might use? If you don't.
Canva.
Canva. There we go. This is a good one. Nice. Okay. If we are flagging unauthorized access to a client file. Fraud detection. Bam.
Okay.
And even the phone agreed with you there. You said it. It's like, ding, correct. Okay. I really like struggled over the phrasing of this one, but unlocking your iPhone with your face.
Would that be either the recognition or the computer vision model?
That would be computer vision. Yeah, because it's like looking at you and seeing like you are the person that I'm expecting. Yeah. Right. I mean, you're not doing it like, it sounds like with your face, but it's just, yeah. Okay, so automatic closed captions on a YouTube video.
That'd be text.
Close. Text would be involved in it, but more specifically, it would be speech recognition,
Okay.
right? Because it needs to be able to tell what's being said rather than just reading something else and then rewriting it or providing a response to it. Designing a new company logo. Canva, yeah. So which model would that be?
Image generation.
Boom, exactly. Yes. Now, this is like super simple, but writing code for software.
Computer vision. Language.
Not quite. Language. I heard it from somebody over here. Language. Yeah, there we go. Because code is still text, right? So if we're writing in Python, we can tell it, you know, write me a Python program to win at Minesweeper. I don't know if that's a thing anymore that people still play Minesweeper, but if it were, that's maybe how I would ask it, and I would use ChatGPT or Copilot or one of those to do that. Can anybody think of any other use cases you've seen or used for AI that you're not sure which model it might be?
What about when you're using like a fingerprint on your phone? Is that going to be vision, like, or an image, or?
That is probably going to be computer vision, maybe.
Okay.
It's a great question.
No, I just, yeah.
Yeah. Don't know if it's like,
I mean, it's like when we get people in ER, and I mean, if you couldn't, if they were passed and their bodies were cold, it would not open the phone. This is before the vision. Yeah. So because you had to have a warm, yeah, like it had to be warm and other things. That's what the police a lot of times would tell me. Oh, warm up the thumb, do this. Okay, then let's try to open it. Especially when they were trying to figure out who it was. Oh, I just remember one night having a person, and it was like, that's why, you know, on TV they just show it, but it's not always as easy as it looks when it's somebody.
That makes sense. So there's kind of a few things going on there. So what you're telling me is I can't scoop out somebody's eyeballs and bring them to the bank and have them open the secret vault.
I don't think so.
Well, there goes my weekend.
TV. You have to take the whole head. Yeah.
And keep it warm. Head in the blow dryer.
Yeah.
Amazing. You guys are fun. I appreciate this.
Might stink a little bit, you know.
Yeah, probably.
Drip.
I would definitely drip.
Fantastic. Okay. So any other questions, comments, ideas on AI models?
No.
No? Okay, good, great. So let's talk about some best practices when we're using this and don't worry, we will eventually get into how you can actually use this at your job. This stuff is just really good to know before we get into that. So remember, as we talked about earlier, that AI doesn't think. So when you're asking it questions or giving it instructions, you need to be clear and specific. It's not really going to be able to read the subtext between your words. Think of this as like talking to your 12-year-old little brother, right? And he is going to take everything that you say very, very specifically. So if you tell him to draw a bath, he's going to do the whole Amelia Bedelia, literally draw you a picture of a bath kind of thing, right? The AI is way less smart than we think. Yeah. And I clap with that one for emphasis. Okay. Also, when dealing with AI, don't get too excited. I know everyone's always talking about there's so much potential and AI is going to be doing everything and it's going to be stealing everybody's jobs and we're never going to have to work again. Yeah, you know, that's not going to work.
No.
It's not going to.
Not all the jobs, but there'll be some that may.
There'll be some.
Robotics, but
Yes,
no,
exactly.
it's not going to happen.
Right? I would love it if the AI could clean my house, but we're not at the Jetsons yet, so that's not going to happen. It's also not going to be able to just create my annual report for my board, right? Even if I give it information, it's not going to be able to do the full final report. It might help me structure it. It might help me with wording, but I can't expect to just throw some Word documents at it and have it output something that I would feel comfortable giving to my bosses. So you need to be reasonable both in your requests and in your expectations when dealing with the AI. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. Don't believe the robot. Treat it like a first-year intern. Check its work. Use what it gives you as a starting point, not the final product. And don't give it confidential files unless you are 1000% sure it is safe to do so. Now we can talk a little bit more about that one because there's some nuance to that. So when we're talking about confidential files, that could vary based on your role, based on your industry, based on your organization. But generally that includes things like resumes, client files, financial documents, test results. If you wouldn't post it publicly on your website, don't upload it to a random AI. That seems pretty reasonable. With a caveat, at Parallel 42, we use Google as the backbone for everything. So we're sending our emails through Gmail, we're using Google Docs and Google Sheets. So Google already has access to everything. So if I then, while logged into my Parallel 42 account, want to use Gemini to ask it to analyze some data that's in a spreadsheet that already lives in Google, well, that's okay because I'm not giving it anything new, right? The expectation is that the company who set up Google, like my boss who set up Google as our ecosystem, is aware of Google's AI policies and how it's using AI and trusts Google to have access to this. Because whether or not I give it to Gemini, Google already has access to it, right? Now, if I were to take that same data file and put it into Copilot, well, now it's an issue because Microsoft didn't originally have access to that data, and now they have access to that data. And once we give it this file, it's not that it's just sitting on my computer and the AI reads it and then forgets about it later on. No, it's probably going to be using that in its training data for other people in the future. So if somebody were to then ask a question about Parallel 42's financial position, and it can look in its own training data and see, oh, I actually know that, possible it could then spit that out to somebody else. If I have access to be able to delete that file from the AI, I've deleted it so I don't have access to it. That doesn't mean the computer system doesn't have access to it anymore. You can't trust them. You guys are really getting a sense of me that I'm paranoid now, right? It's not as bad as they make it sound. But when it comes to this kind of privacy, we really can't trust them. It's just the way that it is.
I'm sure when it comes to people stealing people's identities, a lot of things, even like a resume or different things, people will think it's subtle, but that's how I bet you they are building some of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
the calls, the scam calls. They've got a little bit of data on you, and then they expect you to be giving a little more. Or happened to my dad, and we're sure that's how some of that happened. Yeah.
absolutely. Any data that is now even like publicly available is so much easier for people to get. I mean, in the past, web scraping was a thing, and people were able to just look at your company website, scrape emails and phone numbers. But now it doesn't even need to be a person who knows what web scraping is or what that means. They know they can just ask ChatGPT and get that information, right? So we need to be careful about what we post in general, but especially when it comes to work stuff. While AI is a tool, we have to be conscious about how we use it, right? If you wouldn't talk to a random person on the street about it, don't give it to a random AI. Questions, concerns? Okay, good. Why not? I guess I should have pushed that button earlier, but I didn't. So something else that I want to show you that relates a little bit to what we were talking about here are some of the settings, it's showing up there, okay, that are available for our AIs. So in ChatGPT, if you have the left side menu open, you can kind of expand or collapse that. So just if you're not seeing it, you can click on it to open it. When you click on your name, you'll see that there are options to customize ChatGPT and for settings. So let's take a look at those, and it'll give us a sense a little bit of what it is remembering and why it's doing some of what it's doing. So memory, let it reference saved memories. So what that means is anything that I have asked it or given it in the past, it will use in future responses to me. In some cases, that might be good. In some cases, that might be bad because information changes. And the AI doesn't always have the context that maybe since I first uploaded that resume for advice on it 6 years ago, I've now completely changed jobs, right? So that's always something to keep in mind. Same with the memories and the chat history. All of that kind of ties together. When it comes to memories, you can adjust those more than you can with the chat history. So if you click onto manage memories, these are all of the things that it has learned about me throughout my use of ChatGPT for the last, I don't know, probably year or so. So it knows where I live, it knows what I do, some more descriptions about what I do. It knows that I submitted a presentation to the bike summit. I didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't actually do it. So this is an example of where it doesn't have the full picture, right? So these are all the things that it remembers about me, plus anything else that's just in the chat history that it might reference. So I can also put in custom rules, basically, is what these are. So if you ever find that your ChatGPT is all of a sudden calling you by name or not your name or a name that you didn't tell it, it might be somebody pranking you. And if they are, this might be how they're doing it. I have had, I remember back in the day when Siri first became a thing on iPhones, and it was like all of my cousins were getting access to each other's phones and changing the name. So then Siri is referring to people by not very nice words when responding, right? So if your ChatGPT is doing something like that, it's not necessarily that it's rude. It might be your settings, okay? So you can tell it what you want it to call you. You can tell it what you do. Now, when it comes to personality and trait, this kind of comes back to that overly flowery and flattering prose that we were getting when it was telling us about ourselves earlier. So by default, we're seeing that it is friendly and positive and very nice, but maybe that's not what we want. So if we want it to be mean, we could do that. That's saying cynical, but yeah. If we want blunt efficiency, robot, or thoughtful and supportive listener. Exploratory and enthusiastic, being a nerd, I think is, I take offense to that, but that's fine. So if you're not really liking the way that it's giving you responses, this might be something you want to change, especially if you're using it for work communications, right? If you want to give responses that are just very straight to the point, set it to robot. And that way you're not worried that you're using like weird terms that might get strange in a work setting. That's a good way to do it. And then you can also set some more of these specific traits, which is weird. So if I want it to be chatty, then it's going to always like give me longer. I don't want that. So I'm not going to tell it to be chatty. Ooh, but I want it to be straight shooting. Tell it like it is. Don't sugarcoat responses. Yeah, okay. I can deal with that one. So we'll leave that. But Gen Z, talk like a member of Gen Z. I want it to do both of those things. We're going to see what that results in. And then if there's anything else, this is such a good one though. And this might come up if you're ever taking a look at somebody's sending you a screenshot or text copied directly from their chat GPT, and they're like, look, it's agreeing with me that the world is going to end next Thursday. The chat GPT might only be saying that because that person put that as one of their beliefs in their settings, right? So now this is always going to kind of adhere to that world view. So I'm sure we've heard the concept of echo chamber before when we're talking about, Facebook and our online kind of environments. ChatGPT is the same thing, right? It's not necessarily going to open your mind to anything new. So in cases where you're really trying to understand a new concept or kind of just bring yourself around to an idea, you want to research something that you're not quite sure about, AI isn't necessarily the place to do that because it will have its own biases, whether they're ones that you have told it explicitly, like what we're seeing here, or ones that are just already built in by the original developers. Because all of these settings that we're able to influence here, the developers have done this and more on the back end in ways that you cannot see and will never have access to, right? So keep that in mind. Whatever you can do, they can do better. Yeah. In advanced, we can get a little bit more into that. So things that we want it to do versus not do. We pretty much always want it to search the web, but in case that you only want it to look at documents you've given it, for example, you could turn that off. These ones you might not necessarily use as much. If you are ever looking at these and wondering what they are not understanding, if you hover over them, it will give you some more information about each one of them. Okay, so I'm going to save those settings. And then let's take a look at data controls. So improve the model for everyone. Oh, that sounds so nice. I love making the world a better place for everyone. ChatGPT told me so. Well, this actually means that everything I say to it, it is using in its training data for future people, right? So that's maybe a bad thing. Maybe I don't want it telling everybody about me or uploading all of the documents that I've ever given it. So I'm going to turn that off. Gone. Go away, right? Done. Now, I feel good knowing that they're not going to use my data to train in the future anymore. Perfect. Great. But I don't trust them, so I still think they're going to. So I'm still not going to give it my bank info. Okay. And it will also keep track of links that you've given it or links that you've created. I don't have any conversations that I have archived. So that's something to be aware of too. You think just because you deleted it here, oh, I don't want my husband to know what I'm going to get him for Christmas and or the fact that I had to ask ChatGPT what I should get him for Christmas. So I'm going to archive that. But he's crafty. So he came in here and looked at my archived chats and saw it. So now he knows what he's getting for Christmas. That's a very wholesome example. But it's not necessarily all going to be that way. But you can also delete them as well as export your data, which might be an interesting one. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind in terms of the settings that you have available to you. Now in that one, That was our customized chat GPT. So I'm calling them settings, even though they're customizations, because then we also have settings, because why not? Yeah. So these ones here are not as integral to what it is that we're doing, but it's still useful to keep in mind. If, for example, you're somebody who speaks multiple languages, and maybe sometimes it's having a hard time interpreting what you're asking it, we do have options to set the language specifically. Keeping it on auto detect tends to work, but in case you are encountering problems with it, whether you are typing or speaking out loud to it, those are some options. Personalization, we can get into custom instructions. That just takes us back to our customizations, because everything's a circle, right? Memory, reference, chat history, we talked about those guys. So back to settings. So you can click around and play in these ones a little bit more to get a sense of what's going on. But those are the main settings in ChatGPT that you should be aware of. So as you can see in there, there's a ton of stuff that we could do and manipulate. So what about our other ones, our co-pilots and our Geminis and whatnot? What access do we have there? Let's see, I've got co-pilot. I'm going to click on my little breadcrumb menu and I'm going to choose settings. So in here, I can give it custom instructions. Okay, so I'm going to tell it that I believe the world is ending next Thursday, and keep that in mind in any answer you give me ever. Okay, and then I want it to remember things that I've told it in the past. In this case, I don't use Copilot very often, so it doesn't have any memories, and it also doesn't have my work profile, but it could have access to. So, okay, so there's a little bit that I can do to customize this and play around with it. Not quite as much as ChatGPT, but there's still some of it. Then there's Gemini. In Gemini, we can't do very much at all. Let's see, I can set my theme. So if I want it to be light instead of dark, sure. If I make any public links, so if I want to create a link to a conversation and share it with Bolt to read, I can do that, but so far I haven't done. That's not really influencing what it's telling me though. So saved info. In this case, I can ask it what to save. So this is similar to the memories that we were seeing in ChatGPT, but this is really the only opportunity we have to customize Gemini. So I have the least influence over what Gemini is telling me, which might seem like a good thing, but I also have the least insight into what it's telling me and why and how it's saying it, right? So as you're working through using different chatbots like these ones, keep in mind how much you as a user are able to influence it and how that might be influencing the responses you get from it. The more you use these, as we're seeing as well, the different types of responses we're going to get from it. So ChatGPT is probably able to give a better bio on me because you saw the info it had saved on me. I've told it so much, it just knows. But since I've not really used Copilot and I don't really have a work profile set up, it doesn't have as much to pull from. It can only use what's publicly available online, which then results in it making up things. Like Gemini, I guess, did that too, which is super weird, but maybe I'm logged in on my personal account. That's what it was. If I had it on my work account, then it would have probably more things to reference and wouldn't tell me that I work for a different company than the company email that I'm signed in using. So I guess that's something to keep in mind too. Which account are we using? So that was a lot. That's a lot of settings and things that we can do to the AI. How do we feel about what we just saw and talked about there?
Need to play with that more to know it better.
Well,
Yeah.
it helped me because I have played in ChatGPT, but I didn't know about all the other fluff that you just talked about, which is helpful.
Yeah, it's really good to know. It's so fun to sometimes go through those memories of things that it has saved to see what it's thinking about you, right? Especially when you think of the fact that all of the technology you're using is doing that. That's how Facebook is serving you ads. That's how Netflix and YouTube are making recommendations. They all have these little profiles built on you. So if you look at how maybe incorrect the ChatGPT memories are for its profile, how would your Facebook maybe differ? Yours is probably very, very different because it doesn't know anything about you at all.
Right.
You're really good at hiding yourself. Whereas Bolt's, it probably knows that it needs to send her ads about hockey and sports equipment and upcoming events at the Windsor Riverfront, right? Because it's able to really get a sense of who Bolt is and what's important to her. So it all really ties together. AI is in the background of everything that we're doing, and it was in the background before ChatGPT existed. Now we just have a new way to visualize and think about it. So maybe now we'll get into some of the reason that we actually came today. And that's like, how can we actually use this for work? How long did it take? It only took me an hour to get there. That's fine. So these are just some examples. Proofreading, I think, is a great one. So when it comes to writing and using AI as a tool, I've seen two different ways to do it. You can either ask it to write a short bio about yourself, or you can give it a short bio about yourself and ask it to improve it or to change the tone or to make it shorter, that kind of thing. That's the way that I prefer to use it. Somebody else that I work with, he prefers to have ChatGPT give him the starting point and then he edits it from there. I think either way works as long as you're paying attention to what it's giving you and not just trusting that it is correct on everything. Again, I always come back to that. And even when it's checking your grammar, it's usually okay, but it's sometimes not okay. We're in Canada, so it's going to give you American spelling, which isn't what you want, right? So check for that kind of stuff too. But for proofreading, it can be very useful. Summarizing, yeah, question.
Sorry, Lauren, do you mind if I take
Oh, yeah,
snapshots?
yeah,
of-
absolutely. Go
Oh,
for
okay,
it. That's
thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to write it.
Oh, for sure. I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll take everybody's email addresses down as well, and I'll send you the slides
Oh,
after.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
thank
sure.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. So the summary is something that we've probably all experienced already too. These kind of happen automatically with many things these days. My emails, for example, if I have a long email thread, which happens, it will just tell me up at the top, like, this is what this email thread is about. But sometimes it's hilariously incorrect and it's so funny. Or like in chats, I think Bolt's probably experienced some of these with me. If I haven't looked at my IMs all day and people at work have been going back and forth on things, when I finally do open it up, the first thing that it shows me is, oh, here's a recap of what you missed. Bolt made a request to Doug to do something, and then Randy said Lauren smells weird. Randy never said that. But for some reason, the Google chat thinks he did. Maybe he thought it and it read his mind.
Yeah, it reads his mind.
Right. So you got to watch out for that, but it's handy, right? So if I have a meeting transcript and I don't want to read the whole thing to find all of the decisions, maybe having the AI do it to at least get my starting point can be very, very helpful. Or if I need to write an executive summary of a full report, ooh, it can be really good for that because it's basing it just on what I already gave it, right? Preliminary research, so helpful. So this is a ridiculous anecdote that I use all the time, but I'm going to share it with you guys because I think maybe Bolt is the only one who's heard it. So I had this list of like 20 organizations, and I wanted the name and email address of the CEO, the website, and the address for all of these organizations. So I asked ChatGPT and I asked Gemini both to do it. Okay. Gemini gives me a response that says, that sounds like a lot of work. What you should do is type each organization's name into a search bar, and then you'll get the results from there. And it's like, Gemini, I know how to find this information. I don't want to. That's why I'm asking you to do it. But it was just like, no, that's too much work. Right? And then I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT goes, whoa. I can do that, but this is too many. Can you give me just a couple at a time? Okay, fine. So rather than asking it for 20 all at once, I ask it for 5 at a time, 4 batches. And then I got exactly what I needed, and it saved me so much time, right? So that's a really great use case for something like this. Now, I still didn't check every single one, but I did spot checks to see if the link to the website was correct or not. If the link to the website's correct, probably the rest of it is correct, vice versa. Yeah. And then brainstorming is another great one. So as an example for that, this entire presentation that I'm looking at today started and I guess finished in ChatGPT. So I'm just like, well, we have to go all the way back to the top. There's so much. So I'm gonna be talking about this. Suggest me an agenda.
Wow.
I didn't use the title that it gave me because it was too wordy, but I mean, I did start with all of these. I loved what AI is and isn't. I had a whole plan for like what AI can and can't do. One of the can't do's is draw a proper picture of a human hand. But everybody already knows that, so I didn't need to talk about it. So, you know, I use these as a starting point, and as we've seen, I didn't necessarily follow this outline exactly, but it got me started and helped me realize what I did actually want to talk about. The same as the idea where people tell you if you need an answer to a question, the best way to get it is to post the wrong information on a forum and somebody will come through and correct you a lot faster than they'll just answer a question you might ask, right? So we can see how much of this I went through and even back and forth and goes all over the place. Like, here we go, talking about our different models. Whoa, it's crazy. Love it. Now, I did also run this by some colleagues as well. So after I wrote the whole thing with the help of ChatGPT, I go, Doug, read this, let me know if I got anything wrong. And he starts off by being upset at my definitions of AI because you can't define AI. It's a marketing term. Yes, Doug, but go to the next slide. Oh, okay, now I see. So even people can get caught up in something, right? So, you know, getting feedback from colleagues is good, but we can't rely entirely on it the same way we can't rely entirely on ChatGPT to tell us everything. So next, see, Doug was looking at it, we can tell. All right, text extraction. This is a great one. So an image of a text, an image of text, which includes PDFs. We can feed that to the AI and then have it give us the text in an editable format, which I love. If we want to extract data, because I work at a nonprofit and for some reason somebody provided me with our email contact list as a Word document that is weirdly formatted and I have to copy and paste everything one by one to get it out so that I can actually build my mailing list for this month's newsletter. And that's super annoying. Instead, I'll give it to the robot and have it create a spreadsheet for me. Much easier to do. There's weirder use cases for that too. I used to be part of an organization that resulted in a weekly email of a table of like 200 rows. Why was this in an email? Don't get me started. But 5 years later, I had somebody come back and ask if I had X data. And I'm like, oh, I do, but it's all in my emails. What's the most like time efficient way to get that? I don't want to go and open all these emails and copy all these tables. So instead, I downloaded a file of all of the emails, gave it to ChatGPT and said, pull out all of these tables and put them in a spreadsheet with one table per sheet all in the same workbook. And it did it. It was maybe 30 seconds, right? As opposed to something that before would have taken hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a very kind of specific use case. But I wanted to share that with you to get you thinking about something you might have to do at work or in your daily life where maybe this is useful. Maybe you can throw it at the robot to make it do that. Data visualization is another great use. Give it data, ask it to visualize it, ask it to analyze it even, like find patterns in this data. Remember, that's what AI does, is it finds patterns. Question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we use electronic charting, Jane, at work, okay? And we've got several clients. So because there's such a strong firewall there, can it access it to say, okay, how many of Arlene's Healthy Hills patients have diabetes? How many are over the age of 80? If there's privacy
I know
with
Jane
the
has
other.
some cool stuff in it.
Say that again.
I know Jane has some AI stuff they've been adding to it recently, but it's more for like,
Yeah, it's more
meetings
for
and stuff like
talking
that.
and
Yeah.
doing your charting via AI. They've just brought that out.
yeah.
I was just wondering if I'd have access to that or I'd have to input that data myself.
Do you know if you're able to export data from that?
I don't know. I'd have to
system?
check with them then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
Because-
good that way. So, but
yeah.
it makes me wonder because people say, well, what's your average age and how many diabetics do you have? And
Yeah,
You
if you
know?
can export like anonymized patient data that
yeah,
it doesn't have any identifiers, it's just, a birth date and comorbidities, then like, yeah, download the
Okay.
spreadsheet and give it to the robot, see what happens.
oh, cool.
That could be cool.
Okay.
But if they are bringing in some of these other AI capabilities, it's possible that they'll go there with the data portion of it.
Okay.
Also tell them that you want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not ask them, tell them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Put a request in,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
they may be doing it in the works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Oh man, with all software vendors, yeah, whenever it's not doing something that you wish it could do, most of them have a mechanism already for you to tell them what you want because, I mean, they want to build the software that you want to pay for,
Right.
right? So, yeah. Then teaching and training. So, in addition to creating kind of lesson plans and agendas, like we saw with the presentation from today, I can have the AI teach me how to write Python. Like, I want to do one small Python exercise a day that will help me build my skills over time until eventually I can create my own tic-tac-toe program. And then I just have that chat running and I open it up once a day and I do the exercise and eventually my skills build. There's lots of different ways that you can use AI to help improve or start a new skill altogether. You can even ask it for resources. So give me links to resources where I can learn how to write Python. Then it's going to make up some things. It's going to send me some links that aren't real. And then I'm going to tell it, hey, bad robot. Those aren't real links. So the guys I work with swear that the meaner you are to the AI, Alex is nodding, the meaner you are, the better it does.
Really?
Call it names, I don't know, but try it. Can't hurt. So I want to run a poll. How many people in here say please when you're making a request of the AI? Haha. Sometimes.
She taught me
Always.
to.
She would.
She told us that you have to say
It's
please.
expensive for the models, right? It's like it's expending more energy because it's constantly seeing us say please at the end of every sentence. So it's causing the training to actually like take a little bit longer to get you the information, which is causing power to be used more to get you the
Just
answers.
get to the point, right?
Yeah.
See, I don't mind if I'm, costing Bill Gates some extra money.
Yeah.
He's got it to spare. But you make a really good point on the energy usage because AI is not great for the environment. What? Right. I know. We wish that it was, but everything's got pros and cons, equal and opposite reactions. Yeah, all of the computing power that is necessary to train and run AI models uses up a ton of electricity. It's like a huge thing, right? Yeah. And right now we're having access to all of these tools for free or for very low prices. And that's because it's new and they want you to use it, right? Once everyone has this like baked into our heads and our workflows, they're going to jack up the price because as it is, they're losing money on it. So something to be aware of as well. Don't become too reliant. But we're always told that. Don't become too reliant on TV. Don't become too reliant on cars. But now we do all of these things and we'll do that with AI as well. But for now, that's where it is. So that got me through all of the content that I wanted to go through, which is great because it leaves us with about 15 minutes to play around, run some tests, and ask any questions that we might have. Now, there's no pressure. If you're like, I've had enough of this and I need to leave, I'm not offended. But I do want to try, now that I've updated my chat GPT to talk to me like it is Gen Z and what did I tell it? Gen Z and a straight shooter. Now I'm going to ask it to tell me something about myself. Bio on Edges from Windsor. Let's see. Looking at IMDb.
Oh, there you are.
That is actually a picture of me.
Sure.
Uh-huh. Powerhouse.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Creative powerhouse. And put that on a t-shirt for you.
Please don't. Facts that don't suck. Main hustle. Major flex. Goodness. Interesting choices. I mean, all of this is correct. So, I'll give it points for that. I don't know how, yeah, don't know how straight shooting it is, but it's definitely got some Gen Z-isms going on. Scene OG.
Since at least 2011.
If you want the tea on her style latest behind the scenes vibes. And this just it feels like my dad trying to relate. Cool. Oh gosh. That hurts a little bit. Said it this one and it's more correct.
I'm gonna start sending all my messages to you through the Gen Z filter.
Amazing. So does anybody have anything that they're like, man, I wish I could make AI do X for me, or can I have AI do X for me?
Well, I'm just thinking only because I was going to be looking across the world, all the therapeutic touch associations, and I want all their locations, their websites, and then I'm going to, and if it can give me what the membership fees are. Only because our local group, I believe, it's so far as I've looked, it's the highest in the world, and it's crazy how they've upped our prices. And I'm like, so a lot of people are shocked as I tell them. Yeah, therapeutic touch.
Did I spell therapeutic correct?
You did. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm looking at it and like,
members across the world though, because I know North America. I mean, but I know a lot of places, but I'm sure there's some I've missed. And now I'm going to play with this puppy and make a spread chart and everything. That was my goal.
I love that.
You're gonna get the Gen Z version.
So yeah.
That.
Ontario. I'm sure it'll
okay. And they're picking up things that are not therapeutic touch, because therapeutic touch is a copyrighted name, and at least in Canada, and they haven't even picked up, some of the other.
Do you work with Lori Masonville?
I know who Lori is. Yeah. Lori is a part of the group. Yeah. Here in Windsor area.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Windsor's such a small place.
Well, therapeutic touch is a more specific. I do Reiki and healing touch and other things, but I know she does. I remember when she took it, her and her daughter. Yeah.
She introduced me to it. So.
Yeah, or it's a very specific. No, it's a very specific modality of energy work. It's not an organ. They're not. Yeah, is a very specific modality of energy work. Yeah. Because so many times you'll put in therapeutic touch and then it thinks it's healing touch, quantum. A lot of these other modalities that it isn't.
You can see she took the mean approach. Instead of saying please, she said try again.
Yeah.
That's as mean as I can
Gen
get.
Z, so.
And it didn't even pick up some of the other organizations in Canada, because we've even got our overview of TTNC, and then we've got all
legit
the
therapeutic touch.
Yeah. Well, they got up-to-date prices at least. Yep, there now they've picked up. There's Australia. Keep going. Yep, that's good. Okay, I'm going to play with that.
Yeah, cool.
And even there's so many more.
Able.
Germany, France, all over. Yep. South America, Africa. So that's okay. I will. But this is.
So Lauren, regarding photos, now I have thousands of pictures of feet on my phone. So if I were to give, because I knew the one receptionist at work said she took a picture of a watermelon the other day and asked ChatGPT, which one do I buy? And it said that one there. And she said she took it home and it was great. It was perfect.
Amazing.
So how about with the barefoot with some anomalies? If I were to, how would I transfer that onto the ChatGPT to see it? Like, what if I sent you one picture?
Send me a picture.
Okay, I'm gonna send you. And I'm just
Well, that's like, it's gonna be good.
like different possibilities,
You're on,
right?
you're on an Android, so you can just use Google Lens.
Oh, now you're way above me. Google Lens. I
Yeah.
don't even know how.
It's built into your Android phone. You can
I have
use it to
She has a-
search for things. Yeah, you can use it to search for anything in pictures. I was at a kitchen deconstruction job earlier, and we didn't know how to take apart the oven, so I took a picture of the front of the oven just to see if Google Lens could find me the model
Oh,
because the model
nice.
wasn't written anywhere.
Wow.
So
That's so cool. I
yeah.
love that. I use it to identify plants and bugs.
I do. I got the plant one too. Except one time, I found a glove in my garden, but it was actually a fungus.
Oh,
It was called dead man's
those
fingers.
are cool. They actually look like fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I'm starting a new chat here, if I click on the plus, I can add things to it, which is amazing.
So
So
at the top.
yeah, we're gonna add this file to it, and then that's gonna be this guy.
Now we get to all see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what? Please
Okay.
diagnose.
No, please.
Okay, just diagnose.
What do you see? Yeah, diagnose. That's good.
Okay.
Leaving my brain told
See how accurate it goes. And if it even knows the name.
An ingrown toenail.
Okay, that's very good. So that looks, can I see
No.
what it says?
Yeah.
That looks
Yeah.
like it. Oh, you're too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Looks like an ingrown toenail already starting to break the skin. Yeah, blood on the side. Few things to note from the pic. Digging into the skin. Yeah, there's redness, but you don't know what it's called. It's paronychia.
Oh.
There's redness and a little bleeding, which means the skin's irritated and affected. Looks pretty thick and discolored. Could be trauma, fungal infection, age-related thickening. Good. Which is onychogryphosis. What you should do right now, clean it with warm and mild soap. Good. Apply an antiseptic, polysporin, that would be an antibiotic. Cover it with light Band-Aid, not rubbing on the shoes. Wear open-toe shoes and very good. What not to do, don't try to dig it. And they should have on here, go see Arlene's Healthy Heals.
Dude, eventually that's where this is gonna go. They're not fully ad space in it yet, but they will.
Head feels hot, start draining pus. Okay, and then they should be touching on if you're diabetic too, the importance of that.
diabetes.
Honestly, if you're diabetic, circulation issues. Wow. Honestly, if the pain gets worse, looks infected, where's the foot nurse in there? We don't want a family doctor. Can trim it properly, prescribe antibiotics. Good.
Oh,
Very good. That's very good. See, they don't need me. I love it.
yeah.
It's scary though, but how many jobs is it going to eliminate?
Yeah,
Right?
it's true, but I mean, there's still always going to be cases where humans are necessary,
Yeah.
right?
Eliminate and create.
Yeah.
Think of Photoshop. Like how many graphic design artists that were drawing on paper thought they lost their jobs, and how many people now have jobs because they can use Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
True. Yeah. You can just think of it less as jobs being lost and more as more people being helped,
Mhm.
especially in places where healthcare might be less accessible,
Mhm.
like the US, where it's really expensive, right?
Mhm.
Now, maybe those people can have access to something a little bit better as long as it's reliable. 'Cause as we've learned today, we can't trust the robot, but maybe if it's a robot meant to tell you about why your feet are sick and how you can make them better, it can be more trustworthy.
It's getting the people to go to those sites and go to those things. That's the difficulty.
Always.
Yeah, because she knows all the time people will come in. But I read, no, geez. And it's not the same for everybody because you are still individuals. A robot, like you said, cannot pigeonhole everybody in. That's why she's so specific with feet. Let me see it. Let me do this.
Yeah, because maybe what you see that it doesn't is that up on the shin, there's some flesh-eating disease going on.
Mhm.
The ChatGPT doesn't know that, but since
Right.
you can see the whole shin, you know.
Mhm.
I hope somebody doesn't have ingrown toenails and flesh-eating disease, but
Plus, I mean, you can't feel temperature, you can't smell, you can't see any of those things. You're just seeing a photo, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times you have to touch,
I think the
push,
not being able to
palpate,
smell is
take a
one of the
whiff.
plus.
That is a
right?